And please join us in a moment of silence. Thank you. Start off the meeting with citizen concerns. Any citizens to share concerns? Come on up, state your name and address.
My name is Angelica Perez. My address is 2325 South Magnolia Street. I didn't see it here in the agenda anywhere, but I was wondering about the possibility of a new jail being built here in Woodbury County. I returned recently from a conference in Mississippi, and that was where I first heard anything about it. So I wondered where I could find more information about it, how I could be kept updated or in the loop about it, or me or any other concerned parties.
So it is on the agenda today to discuss it. Towards the end, yeah, item 9. We've been working kind of over the last 3-4 years, kind of looking at expanding or improving the existing law enforcement center, which is a combination of jail and courthouse space, which is kind of almost unfeasible to do because we can't really garner the room space we need. If we spend even $22 million in the repairs that need to be done, we gain 0 new cells. So we've been looking over this last year at building a new jail, and we will discuss that a little more on item 9 for you here if you can stick around. So you bet. So moving on to approval of the agenda. I'll move it.
Second.
Motion by Raddick, second by DeWitt. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? It passes 5-0. Moving on to the consent agenda. Items 3 through 6, or 5, constitute a consent agenda of routine action items to be considered by one motion. Items pass unanimously unless a separate vote is requested by a board member. Item 3, approval of minutes of the December 3rd, 2019 meeting. Item 4, approval of claims. Item 5 from Human Resources, approval of memorandum of personnel transactions. And that concludes the consent agenda, which I will move.
Second.
Motion by Raddick, second by DeWitt. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? That passes 5-0. Moving on to item 6 from HR. Item 6A, approval of chairman's signature for the Delta Dental 2020 renewal.
Melissa Thomas, HR Director. The first item is for the renewal of Delta Dental. The administrative costs did go up a quarter, so I just wanted to make sure that everybody was aware of that.
I will move that.
Second.
Any discussion or questions on that?
Who was this?
DeWitt. Yeah, motion by Raddick, second by DeWitt. All right. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? That passes 5-0.
Okay, the second item today would be the renewal paperwork for the county's medical plan. I did want to note here that we do have an increase in our stop loss, approximately $50,000 for the next year. We did take that out to bid to 5 different vendors, and nobody could even touch what we have right now. So it's just an industry trend that we're really kind of stuck with.
So how much does that actually affect our budget every year then?
Well, it's going to be about $50,000 a year. I mean, we'll be able to take that out of the medical plan.
Okay.
Yeah.
It comes out of the medical plan?
Medical fees,
Okay.
that's all the administrative costs do.
Okay. The being the best plan, I'll move it.
Second.
Motion by Raddick, second by DeWitt. Any discussion? All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Passes 5-0. 6C, amendment of Woodbury County's use of donated sick leave policy.
Okay, I'm bringing this forward due to the fact that we do have a new benefit starting January 1, and there's questions that have come up. And one of the questions was, can we use our donated sick time to supplement the third of the pay if they did qualify for the short-term disability? I do not feel that that is, or think that is appropriate, due that they have not earned that time, and that is given time. If they do want to supplement that third with their own sick time or vacation,
I think that is appropriate, but I do not think it is appropriate to use somebody else's time to supplement the short-term disability. Any questions?
So the amendment being made specifically is to,
I'm sorry?
what's the specific amendment that we're making?
Okay, so for the short term, there is a line in there.
Okay,
have
so
it?
that,
Okay.
that, you just spelled it out, basically.
Right, and the amendment would say, donated sick leave hours may not be used to supplement income when receiving short-term disability.
I will move that.
Just, oh, go ahead.
Second.
I have a question for
Okay,
Now, the short-term disability, that's 2/3 of your pay, right?
yes.
So if you were only going to get 2/3 and I was still willing to donate sick time to you to supplement that? I mean, because the person donating would know what it's being used for.
No, I understand, but the person that's donating, we cannot obviously disclose if they have short-term disability or not. So I think that utilizing somebody else's time is not appropriate. And the fact that the donating sick time is also a great benefit to our employees.
Yeah, it is.
So, just to be clear.
Yeah.
So someone could an employee be receiving donated sick time?
Right.
And before going on disability?
Yes,
So once that employee's getting the 2/3 pay and once it's deemed that they cross that threshold, then it's no longer appropriate, is that?
yes.
So up until that point, though, somebody could be utilizing that. So,
Or their own time as well.
so that seems like it might be able to, you know, if I'm not on short-term disability, I could utilize that. I could go to my coworkers and I could say, can I utilize, can you spot me a day or two or until that status becomes on?
Yes, and then they do have to have paperwork and everything for the donated sick leave. And then another employee can donate their sick time to the individual.
I'm good with it.
Okay.
Well, I'm not, but that's okay, because it'd just be one no vote. Because I still think if I'm willing to donate the time, and I know that Dennis is only going to get 2/3 of his check, that's still going to provide a hardship. And if I'm willing to give him some of my sick days to bring that up, I don't know why I couldn't. Well, not once he starts getting short-term disability, I can't.
But I think the encouragement would be, and I know where you're at, but the encouragement would be utilize your sick time plus anyone else who's willing to donate. And once you're on that status.
Is short-term disability taxed?
No, because it is not pre-tax. It's not a pre-tax benefit. It is an after-tax benefit.
Are they paying for the short-term disability?
Yes,
Okay, so it's not something we're just providing free of charge.
right.
Well, the motion was by Raddick, seconded by Ung. Any other discussion on the item? All right, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed?
Aye.
All right, so it passes 4-1. And 6D, approval of the tentative agreement with CWA Secondary Roads.
I'm bringing this forward. It was a very good day of bargaining. I think both sides are happy with the conclusion, and the union did ratify, I think, last Tuesday, so.
Okay. Well, I will move it.
Second.
Motion by Raddick, second by Ung. Any other discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? That passes 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. And we are ahead of our set time. Can we receive the quotes for removal of bridge? Or actually, we could do even B, couldn't we?
Right. Mark Nair, Woodbury County Engineer. We can do all three of my other items headed for the hearing, so.
So 7B, approval of resolution to establish load restrictions on county bridges. I will move it.
Second.
Motion by Raddick, second by DeWitt, and then,
One thing I want to point out with the bridges is they are, with one exception, all carrying legal loads for the straight truck, semi-truck, and combination truck-trailer combination. That would be the straight truck pup is that third combination. They just can't carry loads in excess of that 40-ton standard semi, et cetera. We had to analyze trucks for a series of new construction vehicles and to accommodate vehicles that are on the primary highway table instead of the secondary highway table. There was a change in state law that, or 2 years ago, that required analysis of all of our bridges. So basically, we're posting these to handle any legal load, but not loads in excess of the legal standard configuration.
How come $1,000 per bridge to post it?
It's roughly $250 per sign to install it. There's a sign at each end of the mile
Right.
and 2 signs at the bridge. So it's 4 signs at $250 each.
Do we buy our signs from the prison?
Yes, we do.
Oh,
We buy as much of our materials as we can from them as well. We can get posts, bolts. We can buy 1 post for each sign. Otherwise, we have to go to outside vendors. That was an agreement that was ratified with the prison and those other vendors who would like to get into that part of our business.
Can't go through Prime and have them install them, you know.
Right.
Well, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on the item? All those in favor say aye.
aye.
Anyone opposed? Passes 5-0. Item 7C, receive and consider quotes for the removal of the bridge located on Sydney Avenue between 190th and 200.
Yeah, we vacated this road on July 2nd. The existing bridge is the reason that the road was closed. It could no longer accommodate even a 3-ton load. It's important, I think, to get that bridge out of there. It is still our property, and we're giving that land back to the property owner. It eliminates all the piers out there that are trash racks for brushing, et cetera, moving downstream. So we're recommending we remove it. We submitted to a number of contractors for quotations. We received a quote back from Holly Brown Construction for $8,250. I recommend award of the quote.
Pretty favorable. I'll move that.
Second.
Motion by Raddick, second by DeWitt. Any discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Passes 5-0. That's probably not much different than the cost to maintain the road that would have been there.
What's that?
That's probably not too much different than the cost to maintain the road for a year.
That would be about 2 years of road maintenance.
7D, receive and consider quotes for the removal of bridge located at 210th Street, west of Hancock Avenue.
This bridge has been closed for a number of years. The deck plank are gone. To me, it's an attractive nuisance for somebody out there messing around, running up and down those beams. It's also a trash rack in the middle of the West Fork of the Little Sioux River that we really don't need to have tear into either the remainder of our property or our downstream or upstream landowners' properties. Holly Brown was the low quote for it again at $9,750.
I will move that.
Second.
Motion by Raddick, second by DeWitt. Any further discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? That passes 5-0. And we are about 20 seconds away. If I'll just go ahead and read it here. It's secondary roads, 7A, public hearing for consideration of granting an access easement across county property. And
When the project was done that acquired many of the properties in Holly Springs, Humboldt Avenue and the Humboldt Avenue Bridge that formerly crossed the West Fork of the Little Sioux were closed. We have farm ground that's at the north end, immediately north of the Haddock property. The old roadbed lies within that. There is a wandering easement. There's a wandering pathway that they've used to get into the farm. This is formally granting that family an easement to access their farm along that area. We specified this at 103 feet wide because, again, that path meanders. It follows the dike and the riverbank. Basically, it was easiest to just write a straight line there. They're coming in with farm equipment. pickup trucks, semi-trucks, whatever, to take their harvest out. The road department has no objection to this requested easement. I think the family wants to be sure that they've got a documentation out there that allows them perpetual access to this property. We will never open that road again. We have no reason to open it. Therefore, I think we need to assure that they are not landlocked back beyond the end of the roadway.
So anything to be said from the public on the consideration of granting access easement for this property? Seeing none, I'll move the public hearing be closed.
Second.
Motion by Raddick, second by DeWitt. Any further discussion on that? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? That passes 5-0. What's the action item on it?
It's directing the, oh, you're going to close it. The action item is to approve the resolution and direct the chair to sign.
I will move that.
I think it was
Motion by Raddick, second by Young.
part and parcel of my request.
Said,
Pardon me?
and the public hearing is the only thing that's on the
Oh, okay, it's not.
So
action.
I need to come back for action next week to sign the easement.
Right.
So
Very
I
good.
will rescind said motion.
We will do that.
Item 8.
I just had one
Oh,
quick one,
sorry.
if I could share with the board. February the 27th has now been set as the date for the public hearing on the environmental assessment for the Southbridge Interchange, the IJR project. We'll be getting, DOT will be taking care of publications on that. We'll be holding it at the same location as the last public meeting we had, introducing the concept of the project. And again, that will be Thursday, February 27th, and it'll be at the Sergeant Bluff Community Center.
So you're feeling moving forward with this IJR, do you think it's going to go through?
I think a very strong case was made for the location that we have right near mile marker 138, which is just south of the rest areas. The Federal Highway Administration determined that the rest areas can remain in place and in use once the proposed interchange is built. Our environmental assessments at that location showed minimal disturbance to wetlands and other site properties. They still have to make the final determination of approving the project. Once that determination saying that this is an acceptable location for an interchange, then we would begin the search for money to help pay for it.
Sounds good. Thank you.
But yeah, I would say our chances are very good when you compare them to the recent interchanges built in Ankeny
Sure.
and west of Des Moines.
Because there was nothing out there when they built those.
Right, and I mean, we are just south of Sergeant Bluff city limits, just south of the economic development area that they've developed, that's been done in cooperation of the county.
Typically, those interchanges spur growth, did they not?
Oh, they most definitely do. There's a new fleet farm going in, a come and go, and other businesses have already partitioned off areas on that one on the west side of Des Moines. The fleet farm, I think, is expected to open in about February. So, yeah, growth does tend to follow those. So. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to item 8 from the Board Administration, approval of joint county city building authority representation with Allers and Cooney PC.
This agreement is saying that the board agrees to a no conflict. We do this because potentially the city's going to have the same firm represent them on the city side on this possible joint authority.
So
The
that,
city will have this on their agenda Monday for approval, and they'll also have a resolution of cooperation for moving forward with the joint authority.
the city basically has a different attorney in the office that works for them from Allers and Cooney, and we have a different attorney that's going to be working on the authority moving forward. So I see no problem with the conflict of interest, and neither did the mayor in our discussions. And I think we're both under the understanding that if any kind of problems do arise from it, we can take action at that point. So I will move item 8.
Second.
Motion by Raddick, second by Taylor. Any other discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? That passes 5-0. Thank you. Moving on to item 9 from Board Administration. Discussion, basically discussion on the LEC here moving forward. We didn't have an action item. It's just discussion. We didn't have an action item then.
No.
Yeah.
This is a template we're going to be using in future meetings, in case there is something that pops up, say 24 hours beforehand, we can amend the agenda and list the action items that will occur. In this case, it's just recommendations coming from the Law Enforcement Committee.
All right.
What? So we're on 9, and it says action here. What, there is no action?
There is no action. It's information only. It's supposed to be action/information. That was a.
That's what it should be.
Should be what?
Information/action. If there is action that comes up, we'd have to add it 24 hours
Our
prior
action
to
will be, we'll ignore it.
the board meeting.
I'm talking about this agenda right here that
Yes.
says
Yes.
action.
Yes.
So the action is incorrect, is what I'm saying.
Is that what you're saying? It shouldn't say /action if there's no action. That's what I'm trying to get to.
No, but in the future, could be, unless we don't have anything, we'll take the action off.
Yeah, but
It'll be information only.
we're talking two different things here.
Yes.
Okay, because right now,
There will be no action today.
there's no action today. That's all I'm trying to get.
Correct.
All right. Thank you.
Yep.
So Larry and Kenny, who wants to start us off?
Kenny Schmitz, Building Services Director.
Lawrence Goldberg, Goldberg Group Architects.
I'll let Larry take over. Larry has put together some information I think you received in your packets. Or had they not, Dennis? They received this
They
information?
received the original one that has been amended a little bit on where the direction came from.
Is all the same?
Yeah.
Yep.
I won't take but a minute. This is intended as nothing more than a summary update
Kenny, do you have an extra for a journal? Right behind you.
of where we are, and it's a series of summary items from us to the LEC Advisory Committee. And I won't go through every point. I think that, but they all conspire to represent a lot of work and a lot of progress on this to date. So you can read it and ponder it as you move forward.
So one thing I'm going to say that came forward from our committee meeting yesterday, the importance of our timeline moving forward, especially on the legal side of things, because this was our timeline from ours. It's very tight, and moving forward to create the authority, a joint authority of the county and the city working together on this project is pretty much they're going to draft a resolution, and that following week we'll have to approve it. So the importance, we know as supervisors of having this authority and working with the city is twofold. One, we have the city on our side and working together to build a project that is going to help serve the police in our city while they bring inmates to the county jail, essentially is how you can kind of look at it. But it's a joint facility in that there's a lot of things that the city does within our jail. An ASAP officer is typically working in the jail. The Sally Port and intake side of the jail is primarily used by the Sioux City Police Department. It will be a much safer Sally Port situation for the police department in the city, quite frankly. We do have legal rooms that are joint use, and then also interview and what was the other interrogation type rooms that will be joint use. There's a mutual benefit too for the city because it'll get 28th Street paved and it'll get utilities out there, and it's something that's kind of been on the back burner. I remember when I got on city council 10 years ago, that was a road that was heavily discussed then. So it'll move that up in the project list as well. So timeline, like I said, that was really important as far as creating a joint authority. The other benefit to having a joint authority is that when we have a referendum, which we're looking to have by March 17th was the date? 3rd, March 3rd. So March 3rd is what we're targeting for the referendum date. A 50% majority would be needed to pass that referendum. Also in the backup material, we have a couple different worst-case scenario situations, what it would cost, and this is kind of what the voters get to choose on, whether or not they can support the project under a worst-case scenario. And that worst-case scenario, of course, is assuming zero revenue in our jail. So we have those figures delivered at 2.573 true interest cost and a 3.027, because we don't really know our bond rating and a few other things that could influence those numbers. So those are in the packet there. If anyone has questions on any of those that has a packet.
Mr. Chair, should we receive this into the record?
Yes, I do believe so.
I'll move to receive.
Well, that's what, yeah. I was going to ask about that. So this is, does the LAC committee have this yet? Have you submitted it to this committee?
LEC committee met and drafted this basically and received everything that we're receiving here, I guess. Matthew and I and
Okay, but this document is submitted from you, Larry, to the LAC Advisory Committee, and they already have it. Did this committee meet and take this, or?
The LEC committee was together, and I guess if you would like to say, I'm here kind of representing that committee today to get this to the board.
Okay. Okay. I would think that the proper would be is that the LIC committee, advisory committee is submitting to this to the board, and the motion should be for the board to receive.
Okay.
That report from the committee.
Okay.
Okay? All right.
That's exactly what Matthew said, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Thank you.
And I'll second that. All right, any discussion on the receiving? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Passes 5-0. And then basically the rundown of discussion. And we're discussing this here to let everyone know what's on the table in this project for the county and the city. And if you have any objections, please let us know, because there's no point moving forward if we don't have the support of our own board. So the following recommendations are: Woodbury County and the City of Sioux City should make every effort to move forward on consideration of this project jointly, using establishment of a Justice Center Authority, or we're going to call it the Law Enforcement Center Authority, as the legal entity from which to do so. That's under Chapter 346.27 in Iowa Code. This next item is the county should accept the city's informal offer of 38 acres of vacant property on 28th Street as the location for the proposed project.
That's a typo, right?
Yes, yeah, 28th Street. It's a typo. Yeah, you just typed 38 earlier, so.
If you look at the GIS map, it actually, and I don't know if the GIS map is correct or not, but if you look at the GIS map, it shows 28th Street. It stops where the pavement ends at 28th Street, and the GIS map indicates that is where 38th Street
Oh.
plot begins.
Okay.
So it shows a 10-block plot, if you will, that's indicated as 38th Street.
Okay.
So I believe that this may actually be correct.
Okay.
There's a discrepancy, Kenny, because that if you continue to drive east at the intersection, the sign again says 28th Street. So we can't figure that out, but it was referred to as 38th Street, so that's how I referred to it.
All right. So the third recommendation was that approximately 100,000 square foot, 400 to 450 bed justice center or law enforcement center, including housing support, admin, judicial facilities, county prosecutors' offices, et cetera, to be adopted as the overall project objective as conceptualized on the planning documents and other documents previously presented and accepted for use. Didn't figure we'd have any objections or disagreement on that. The LEC committee accepts an overall project cost of around $49,341,000, which includes $900,000 for site acquisition and improvements for possible use to offset a portion of the city's initial project investment. So other numbers that were discussed is the city's road and utility project was about $2.2 million, with total engineering costs was about $2.8 million. That was going to be essentially the city's contribution less our purchase of the land at $900,000. Does anyone have any questions on that part of it? Does that make sense? Last item, we recommend that the county recognize using basic funding parameters established by D.A. Davidson reflecting a 20-year term using certificate of participation, annual payment of which we will have a property tax levy, if passed, as underlying credit to be rated as A to double A and carry an interest rate of 2.5 to 3% subject to closing. Again, this can't show any revenue from federal sources at this point. So we have to show the worst case scenario, zero revenue in this information. Does anyone have any questions on that?
Yes. So in what information are you referring to in the specific, when you say that we can't include this or we can't use this? Are you talking about in the actual language that's on the ballot, or are you talking in information?
I would probably say on the general ballot information.
Okay.
Yeah, because publicly, obviously, we as a board are going to do everything we can to pursue any kind of federal revenues out there to fill this jail, and that's part of the reason, as a public discussion, we're looking at a 440-bed jail when our current needs are maybe about 300. So if we have 100 extra beds to...
And I guess that goes to the point, I think we need to soon get the public renewed demonstration of how we got here, whether that's not only by this memo, but some of the meetings that have been prior, whether that's the LEC committee or some of the members that we brought in from the community that recommended this. I think laying all of that out, I think will only bolster the case so that it is demonstrated, because this has been something that we've looked at for the last 18 months. And then giving those revenue projections that are out there, because I understand we have to have this is what the worst case scenario is, but I think the public also deserves to see the counter. This is what the best case scenario is, and it being taxpayer neutral. So,
if not neutral, beneficial, yes.
I think Jeremy brought up some good points, and one of them we probably didn't mention or haven't talked about in a little while, but we did set up not only in the LEC committee that we have, but we brought in a group of public citizens, which we called the LEC Advisory Group, that helped get us to where we are today, to assist us in making these decisions. And initially, we had started off, the LEC committee had started off with a much smaller building design with a scaled down capacity of beds. And the LEC Advisory Group are what prompted us to build the facility larger so we could initially plan for the future. Because we know that our inmate population is going to grow as it has continued to do so in the past several years. So, yeah, some good points there, Jeff.
I guess any other discussion or questions?
The other thing I've mentioned to Dennis and I'd like to work on over the next couple, 3 weeks is what kind of taxpayer protections can we put in place should we not have the revenue that's being demonstrated right now? In other words, what is that trigger for the county to do in response, whether that's limiting CIP projects in that next year and using the current debt service or some other creative ideas so that they have some protections in place potentially.
Freeze auditor pay?
Yeah.
Karen, can you put that on the calendar that I did get one laugh?
It was a snort.
So I think in a subsequent meeting, we can maybe have some of that history, revenue projections that are there in the best case scenario, and then some of those protections, I think that will help for those who are interested in this broader discussion.
Sure thing. Come on.
So what I mentioned earlier is that I just haven't seen nearly enough information. I found a couple of vague articles in the Sioux City Journal, but for me or whoever else might be concerned or even opposed, if that's the case, to this project, what avenues are there to sort of voice that or to get more information? I just am finding out about this, and I'd love to know a lot more so that I can have a more informed opinion on it, but that's my concern is in the case that maybe there is a plurality or even majority of people who in the community who don't want this, what avenues are there to sort of voice
Well, the
that?
referendum is, quite frankly, the biggest avenue to voice your opposition
Okay.
if you opposed it. You know, from our standpoint, you know, we're having meetings pretty much weekly where we're letting people out of jail that shouldn't be out of jail. And from a public safety standpoint and economic safety standpoint, that's a terrible thing for your community. That's what happens to a lot of major cities that keeps people from moving into them. People flee them, businesses leave them, and we just can't let people out that deserve to be in jail and should be convicted. So that's the position we're taking as a board, and it's a huge public safety issue to have this kind of a problem. And you know, we've had a few cases. What were you going to say, Jeremy?
To your original question, we can provide you with minutes from those law enforcement expansion committee meetings that will have copious notes so that you can see kind of demonstrations.
What's
for the
going
last
into that.
18 months of how that committee came to some of its conclusions.
Yeah.
And that's available publicly, it's posted on it. But we can also, I would think if you left your name and contact information, we can more specifically
Yeah.
put you to that.
I would appreciate that. That would be fantastic.
Because it actually goes back even further, you know, even 10 and 15 years back where recommendations were made how to reduce the jail population. And
Yeah.
we've gone through all those recommendations and really have exhausted them because we've put a lot of money into, you know, mental health alternatives and things. You know, we're at our max mental health levy in Woodbury County, and we're trying every jail alternative program. We even stuck more money into an alternative officer, essentially, and we're still full.
Yeah. No, and this is, I appreciate it because I know I'm coming in here out of nowhere and asking this, but this is exactly why. Because especially if it has been in the works or at least being spoken about for such a long time, for more than a decade, then I don't think it's necessarily the fault of the committee for the public not knowing, but
Sure.
I do think that maybe a increased awareness is deserved on the.
And
part of the
obviously, we're going to do everything we can over the next, till March 3rd to try to get as much information out there to the public, because there's a lot of misinformation from, people that just don't want to spend any money ever. And I personally, I'm not one that likes to build new buildings. I'm not one that likes to spend money, but I feel like we're in a situation where this is really our only option. Because if we stick more money into the old building and gain no new beds, that's money wasted. And if we don't do anything, what we'll have is a closed jail and no jail in Woodbury County, but we're still going to have to house inmates, so we're going to be transporting them to every county in Iowa and paying every county in Iowa $53 a day per inmate times, 200 times 365, and you're going to spend so much more money doing that than just building a new jail in the first place.
And so maybe this next thing would be addressed in some of those previous minutes, but, and again, I found 2 articles maybe that gave me any real information, and that could very well be maybe misguided information. But I saw the potential for contracts with ICE or with other federal programs or
U.S. Marshals
agencies.
is
Yeah.
a big one.
So what, and again, I'm assuming those would probably be addressed or spoken about in those previous minutes, but that was another question of mine, is just
Those are
what's the
just
state of that?
2 of the largest departments as far as having needs for beds.
Okay, so that's just like a potential.
Correct.
the
We
likelihood.
currently have a contract with both at this point,
Yeah.
but we only have capacity, I think, what do we have, 7 feds right around that right now? So ICE could give us 40 today, but we don't have room for them.
Ma'am?
Yes.
Did you, I'm just the auditor, just doing the recording. Did you sign in?
I did.
Okay. Now, are you representing the group, or do you want me to just listen to the citizen in the minutes?
Just a citizen.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, that's all I have for now. Thank you.
You bet, thank you. What are there, about 4 different federal agencies that we have in that contract?
3 for sure.
Okay,
I don't know if there's 4.
okay.
If we could, because we're given a little bit of an overview, if we could just make a point very clear that one of the greatest costs in this for a facility that was built in 1987 for 90 inmates and is now at like 234 is that there was no redundancy built in the HVAC system. In other words, when you do a major overhaul, which is necessary at this time, you have a 24-hour-a-day facility in which you would have to otherwise transport all 234 around 224, maybe that's the case maybe right now, to other places. There's enormous waste and enormous logistical nightmare cost. And so that's something that is factored into, even if we did live within the existing means, we'd be far above a bond threshold anyway. And then what capacity is gained or not gained. So just if that's helpful in terms of, maybe you knew that already.
No, that does help, actually.
Basically, if the bond fails, you may be asked to vote on a bond to repair the HVAC system. It's that extensively degraded and ill-fitted for the facility. Unfortunately, that's where we're at, and currently legislation has a cap, has a threshold where that is necessary.
Any other comments?
Will you leave your contact information where that's by, if you want to, by email or whatever? So
Sign-in sheet there, but I can,
Thank you.
thank you.
Can I offer to give her my card upstairs so she can call anytime she wants?
Appreciate that.
Explain the option.
Thank you.
That'd work great.
All right, did we miss anything on this? That's. I guess, yeah, go ahead, Larry. Come up to the microphone, though.
we're sort of at an amazing point in time where construction costs are escalating so rapidly that we've never experienced something like this in my 35, 38 years of practice. I've just never seen anything like this. If you can get bidders, if they don't fall off the wagon, you're looking at escalation net of anywhere from about 9 to 12% a year. So if Woodbury County decides to pursue another course of action and then returns to this same thing, the consequences are awful. It's not that that might not be the decision your community makes, but when we're looking at facilities that we're asked to visit, when counties have said, you know, why did you say this 100-bed jail would be $5 million 10 years ago, and today it's literally $11 million, and type of thing. But the bright part are the interest rates. And I was talking to Nate. Even though it's certificates of participation, which are revenue bond type financing, it's backed by property tax, which means they have a much greater degree of stability than straight revenue bonds. So even though you're looking at anywhere from a 2.5 to 3% rate, effectively, Nate was telling me they just did the same darn thing in Missouri, and the rate was 2.473. And the idea of borrowing money at less than 2.5% is crazy. So in any event, that's the one bright spot that we can all enjoy in contemplating the cost of this thing.
To put it in terms from my other job, right, it's on sale, it's friends and family pricing, low financing rates. Buy today. All right. Sorry.
No, you're not. Yeah.
You don't have to put that on the calendar. It happens often. All right. We'll move on here. Unless there's any public comments, questions, concerns. Item 10, reports on committee meetings. Jeremy.
Two things, Mr. Chair. So tomorrow is Rolling Hills Legislative Forum from 10 to 12, and then a regular governance board meeting at 1. So I plan to be a participant in letting the legislature know that if there's not funding that's tied to some of the increased core services, that will be by default a property tax increase. So we're hoping that we can get a little more granularity there. The other thing, this isn't really a committee report, but about a month ago I had a conversation with a member of our community who sits on the Bridges of Iowa board, and that just gotten ready to present to the Governor's Focus Committee on Criminal Justice Reform, and maybe kind of timely that we're talking about this facility today. So that committee is tasked with making recommendations to the governor to reduce recidivism through successful offender reentry. And it's a very, very successful program. Polk County has a real synergy with their law enforcement personnel and making sure that at a lesser cost to taxpayers, that some of these folks get some of the substance abuse help that's needed. So I think in terms of looking at this new facility, whether it's a small portion of that, you know, we don't have what we had in Project Phoenix out at the old Prairie Hills any longer because it was in near a residential neighborhood. But looking at this new facility may be an opportunity where for a lesser cost, we could do a little bit of that programmatic help. So just something to keep on the radar. A very, very successful program over there, and it's a longer term than 4 to 5 weeks or something like that. So.
What was the name of that?
Bridges of Iowa.
And that was the committee, or that's the?
That's an organization. It's a nonprofit organization started by the Lamberti family, and they have an amazing reduction in recidivism by getting substance abuse treatment to those folks who have offended, and I believe given some alternative sentencing options to judges. So we had a program similar in some ways, but it had to be someone who had not committed a violent crime. And unfortunately, those two things have gone increasingly hand in hand, and we closed down the dilapidated facility for which we once held that dwindling program. So this may be an opportunity where we save taxpayers while doing it, and we stop the revolving door. Something to keep in mind.
Either of you guys? Okay. Conference board recap, you want to handle that?
Where do we start? That was, Keith and I went to the conference board regarding the postage that the city assessor sent out. I think it was total of around $17,000 for postage to every parcel in the city that went through the reevaluate, what do they call that?
Equalization.
Equalization, I'm sorry, for 8%. What was it, 28,000 pieces, parcels got a mailing. I think I forget the number, he said 1,000 appealed it. Regardless, the city assessor's office was asking the board to subsidize part of the postage, in that they did not have that in their budget, although it was required by the state. Basically, as we kind of bandied about a unfunded mandate that the state made the city/county try and pay for, between the school board and the city representatives, they voted in favor of the county, the auditor's office paying the balance, $3,000 plus for the postage. We argued that with the issue that absolutely none of the county landowners, homeowners, parcel owners got any billing or any notification for equalization, that we from the county didn't feel it was quite fair that the county had to fund part of that. But
So basically, the motion from the conference board was that they would seek the reimbursement of the $13,000 they already paid and have us to pay the $3,000.
because of the vagueness in the state code.
Because in the code, they believe it says that if the auditor shall notify, that means the auditor also shall pay for it, although it never clarifies who shall pay for it anywhere in the language.
We have a very good attorney's opinion on that.
And of course, the school board was represented by Jeremy Saint, an attorney, and of course Dan Moore on city council, an attorney, and of course their legal minds, it was the auditor pays. So,
Well, so what would you like to do?
that's a good question.
Because they're asking, so they're asking for the entire, was it 16,000?
16,342 or something like that.
Right.
Not for the 3,000.
They want it all.
So this vendor is just going to be unpaid until,
Well, the vendor has been paid around 13,000.
right, but the remainder.
Yeah,
Right.
So,
that's in the balance, as I understand it.
Well, I wouldn't mind having the vendor at least get paid through claims, the 3,000, and I think we can work out who pays.
Could we ask the attorney what, where we're going to end up here?
Well, it's like we've talked before, there's some gray area here. I mean, I think there's arguments on both sides. I can understand why each of the parties are taking the position that they are. And it's not a code section that there's been an attorney general's opinion on or a court case on. So I guess it's a matter of whether we want to be the test case or not, or if we think that there's some middle ground that could be reached amongst the parties.
What would the recourse be if the board said no?
If this board, I mean, either could be a lawsuit in one form or another. I don't know that it would be, I think it would be a traditional lawsuit. I don't think it would be a mandamus action, but.
there's, the vendor has been paid $13,000. The vendor is sitting out there, and where's the vendor from? Davenport? And so there's an outstanding bill of $3,000. It's been out there for about a month now or so. And so do you want to put it back on the agenda, or do you want me to run a claim through for the $3,000, or what would you like to do?
I think the vendor should get paid the $3,000, and then we can figure everything else out, but that's up to you guys too, as a majority decision, I think.
I will submit it next week with the claims, and if you want at that point, if someone changes their mind, they can
Move to
have
remove
it
it.
pulled from the claim and into claims and vote on it individually if you want to do that.
So you're just going to submit the 3,000?
Yes,
Okay.
Because the 13's been paid.
13's been paid, and we just would like, city assessor paid the 13,000.
And they're looking for reimbursement from that.
They want the entire 16,000 is what Keith just said, I think.
Yes, they want it all.
So why does the county say no and the city says, I don't accept it? The city says no and we say, okay.
We're not saying okay necessarily. They've already paid 13,000 of it.
Well, the argument is on the whole amount, it's not on
Right.
a portion of it.
But I'm just saying we should at least make the vendor whole and then figure out who's got to pay for it through their budget amendment later, because it's going to take either legal action or legislative action to clarify it.
Well, and from my perspective, it makes sense. The vendor has done the work, obviously, and I don't think that they need to be pulled into the middle of this. I mean, they could file a suit and name the city and the county, and then that would take away any, possibility of us negotiating something. So I think it makes sense to get them paid, and then it's between us and the conference board.
It's between what, fifth floor and second floor, or first floor, sorry.
And the city assessor asked me what I would do if it was the county assessor. I would have asked for the county assessor to pay for it, too. I mean, if it was there. It says the auditor shall, but it doesn't say who's.
And he said the county assessor said you would have to pay for it too.
Yeah.
So I think it's 2 to 1.
She probably has an attorney at her disposal,
Sure.
too.
Maybe you need Attorney General's opinion.
Yeah. Like I said, let's make sure the vendor's paid and we'll just move on with the rest of
I
it.
will submit for the balance next week, and you can make that determination.
All right, citizen concern round 2. You're the only one left.
Can we get the meetings settled?
Yeah, we'll do that on board concerns.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. This is your first county board meeting? I just, because you're enjoying it, I think.
I'm a student, so I think I've been conditioned to.
So where are you a student at?
The University of South Dakota.
Okay,
But I live here in town, so I
Okay.
get the fun of driving back and forth.
yeah.
Pleasure.
You didn't want to be a Vermillionaire.
I sure didn't.
All right.
She's just waiting for another chuckle from the,
Oh, a good joke. I'll have to work
Yeah, I
on one.
wanted to get my joke put on the list as well,
Okay,
as long as we're keeping track.
that's right. Board concerns. Jeremy? Matthew? Rocky?
No, sir.
Ari?
I'll just ask about the Thursday service, if we need to post, if we're going to have 3 members there.
I don't think funeral service or that kind of thing is required posting, but do you want to post for it in case or not? I don't think that's required posting, because there's not going to be any business.
Err on the side of caution, maybe.
And it's certainly not a required posting.
Okay, that settles that. And with that, we want to mention county employee Carla Fergan passed away over the weekend, and she will be a very missed member in our Human Resources Department. And sorry for everyone to have that loss in the family. We do have an envelope and card up in the office if anyone would like to say anything there. Reminder 4 PM next Tuesday. That's our Mr. Goodfellow deal. We got to bring our checks for 111 and something like 11 cents. Except for, we say the auditor and recorder has to double it. Just kidding, you're still 111, but be
As long
there
as
for.
you double my salary.
Keith, by the way, Ms. Perez jokes is still better than yours.
Oh, man, jeez.
That's no competition.
Competition. All right, and then also, that's the same day as our courthouse Christmas holiday lunch celebration party. All right, that's 11:30 to 1 for that. And then our meeting's coming up for, instead of instead of Christmas Eve, the 23rd, 10 a.m. So that's a Monday, 10 a.m. Everyone got it? And then we were talking the 30th instead of New Year's Eve as well. We don't have a time yet.
Do you want to do that, you can do it at 4:30 if that works for everybody else?
Can we do 9 a.m.? Is that possible?
Yeah.
Is 9 a.m. better on that 23rd? Way better for me.
On the 23rd?
Yeah, the 23rd.
The 12th, 23rd meeting. Instead of 10 a.m., let's do 9 a.m. if there are any objections.
Just what are the intentions of both meetings? Is it a claims or is it the
It's-
full gamut
well-
or either or?
Part of the timeline is on there, and claims, and anything, I guess, probably from HR consent agenda oriented, I'd like to see on there. I don't see any other.
I'm just wondering if we're anticipating, budgets or is this more like we're going to approve the claims?
We could have potential budget items, I think, on the 30th. We have a few, yep.
If we could just get a heads up for planning purposes around that time, so that we know if it's a 15-minute or a 2-hour, 15-minute.
Yeah, if it's like you work in a half hour, I think we're going to be adjourned by then, won't we? Yeah. So the 30th, same plan? 9 a.m. Oh, yeah, but we're going to get some budgets out of the way.
So you're going to do,
You can do that at
9
the
o'clock
4:30
then?
time?
No, I think 9 a.m. on both of them.
I'm already working upstairs. I don't think I should be away from that for that long.
Can we keep 4:30 for the 30th?
It'd be a little more difficult for me, but I guess if the majority of the board would like that.
Would we do budgets before or after the,
I think we do it after.
Just before we start, like at 2 in the afternoon. That way we're driving into the night till 6:37. Last year, they were all in the afternoon.
But for the 30th, they're not going to bring any of the big budgets forward anyway, are you?
Do what?
You're not going to bring the larger department budgets in
No,
anyway.
there'll be departments without salaries involved.
Well, let's have a little bit more information. We'll decide next week.
See what the budgets would be, to give you an idea, and how much each budget would probably take, times.
All right. Any other things for the good of the cause? All right, we are adjourned.
Stuff, if the meeting's going to be on Monday, is it still Friday that I can get that stuff to you? So I don't have to, okay.
Second, what time would you want to meet then?